Put your mic on first.
Mm-hmm. Good evening and welcome to the TLC Unleashed Show Hollywood Vibes Sports and Life. We are live in the studio today in Los Angeles, California. I have two very special guests in the studio tonight. So we have, first off, David Perez with Omega International Security. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Yes, we're super excited to have you here. David's got a great story. We're excited to also introduce you to Jennifer Kalig Silverstein. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Tracy.
Yes, and she is a master. She's a sensei and teaches and promotes self-defense. And she's actually been teaching me and coaching me on how to protect myself and have safety and awareness. So this is what we're going to be talking about tonight. David is the CEO and president of Omega International, and it's elite executive security service. So you can talk a little bit about that and tell us all about your company and how long you've been in business. I know you've been doing this for over 25 years.
Yes. Well, Omega National Group, we focus on three major areas, and that is personal protection, investigation, and consultation and training. Under our personal protection, we do bodyguard services. We do a client 24-hour protection at their homes, abroad, and travel with their families. We also do a lot of special events around town, everything from small events to high-profile red carpet events. We also focus on schools as well, private schools. We have armed and unarmed security staff in that schools. Under our investigations, we do quite a bit of background checks. We also do stalking and cyber stalking. Cyber stalking and stalking has become prevalent this probably last couple years, especially with social media. And then lastly, under our training and consultation, we do a lot of active shooter training for corporations and for schools. And we also do vulnerability assessments.
Okay.
Which means we can come into could be a school, corporation, or private residence and find out where their weak spots are, where their blind spots are, and how to make them safer in their everyday life.
Wow, amazing. That's incredible. I know we've met before a few times and talked about this. And so it was really, important to me that we talked about cyber stalking and all these issues today. And then we have Jennifer on the other side of thing who's teaching and, showing us how to protect ourselves in these safety and awareness issues. And I was just amazed by taking your class, Jennifer. I like to call her sensei because she is just, incredible at what she does. And just in the few times that I've taken your class at the House of Champions, the self-defense class with Spice Williams-Crosby, shout out to Spice as well, it's been such a phenomenal experience. Not only has it helped me raise my awareness level and just my, surroundings, but it's also raised my confidence as well.
I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And I'm so grateful to be here today. And I'm really happy that you're encouraging more women to come and learn self-defense and take their safety into their own hands.
Yeah.
And we're changing lives one day at a time, one woman at a time, and it's a process. Even if you're never attacked, God forbid, it's going to change your life for the better, make you more confident, make you more self-assured, and that translates into other areas of your life as well.
Absolutely. And Jennifer, your study has been Krav Maga. So that's what you've done that for quite some time.
I fell in love with Krav Maga, which is the Israeli martial arts of face-to-face combat. Originally designed for military and police force, and then kind of watered down for civilian use because it's direct and to the point. I tell everybody I'm about 90% Krav Maga and 10% mixed martial arts in other areas too. And we specialize in street fighting, street smart survival skills, maximum damage for minimum effort, and vital point strikes. For women, that's especially important because muscle for muscle, pound for pound, as you know, women will typically be outpowered by a male attacker. And I don't like to just vilify men because women get attacked by other women too. And we need to be mindful of that. But the only thing to stop an attacker is pain and vital strikes that are going to cause that damage to stop the attack so that you can get out for your life. We're not teaching you to be an MMA fighter and go 5 rounds in a ring with boxing gloves and get judged on how good you did. We're just teaching you to do something so you can get home alive.
Yes, absolutely. And not to diminish that, but I do want to learn how to do that too. I'm going to
Well,
add
it's
that
a
on
good
the resume,
workout.
just so you guys all know, because I would like to go 5 rounds, as many as I can go. But it's incredible, the strength and the power and what we're learning in there, and just and taking your power back. You're also an ex-Marine as well, correct?
Yes.
Yes. So you've been doing this for a long time, David. So 25 years. I can imagine what you've seen over your time. And your security services, so it's a 5-diamond elite service, and you're protecting both men and women. So it's a little bit different on Jennifer's side. But you've worked in the White House and the Pentagon as well.
Yes.
Are you able to tell us a little bit about that experience?
Sure. When I was in the Marine Corps, I was originally stationed in Quantico, Virginia, and I was afforded the opportunity to go to the White House at 21 years old and work President Clinton's inauguration, and it was an overwhelming experience. And I thought, wow, this is what it takes to protect an individual, the biggest office in the world. I thought it was amazing, and I think from that point, I developed a passion for really what it takes to protect people. And I've been in the business over 25 years now, and it's great.
Amazing. And what, in both of your opinions, what do you think is the biggest mistake that people make not to protect themselves and put them out there in a dangerous way?
I think the awareness. Nowadays, we're so involved with our phones. We're so involved with our work, our careers. We have to remember that it's the growing population. We all live locally here in LA. It's a big city. And there's a lot of crazy things that are happening in the world today with political stuff going on and with crime. There's just a lot of dumb things that are going on. So the self-awareness, we have to be really self-aware of what's going on. We have to be in tune to wherever we're at. Take 2 minutes to see where the exits are. Take 2 minutes to see where you're at. Put the phone down for a couple minutes and just know where you're at, what your surroundings are.
Yeah.
And we do a lot of women's seminar safeties as well.
Okay.
And we tell them, hey, if you're leaving the mall, if you're leaving somewhere by yourself, ask for an escort to your car.
Yep.
Or if you're by yourself, put the phone down, get your keys out, and before you walk out of the building, you know exactly where you're going, and show that confidence. So if there is a bad person that's watching you, they can see that you're kind of ready. You don't look like an easy prey, so to speak. And just be aware. I think the biggest thing is we have to be aware of our surroundings nowadays. It's a different world.
Absolutely, Jennifer, and that's exactly what we learned this Saturday and at our self-defense class, and that's exactly it. And I did it last night, coming out of the gym and just coming out of the store, out of the gas station, and having my keys ready now and putting my phone away. So because I'm always distracted before, it's just you're such an easy target, and I realized that over the last couple of days of just putting my phone down and just doing that. But then also this morning too, getting out to go to work and just being like, I didn't even notice things before that. After taking this class, and now I'm like, oh, there's actually a school there or whatever, just like big things that seem little things to you. So you would agree with the awareness
yes,
as well?
definitely. Awareness is key, and people need to get out of their bubble.
Okay.
Some more than others. I hear a lot of women say, well, I live in a good neighborhood. Well, an attack can happen to anyone, anywhere, at any time.
Yeah.
And the bad guys just don't stay in the bad neighborhoods. They go into good neighborhoods. So no one, not to be paranoid, but to be aware. Even if you're never the victim of a crime, maybe someone else will be, and you could be a good witness for them because you've been observant and you've taken stock of what's around you and you notice something not right, and you can assist somebody or be a witness for somebody at the very least, and if not, help yourself. So yeah, definitely awareness is key.
Okay. Yeah, because teaching these classes, also doing, security for over 25 years, this experience, some of the stories, is that what you hear mostly of the attacks when people are just not in tune to their surroundings and where they're at?
Yeah, and also with, we deal with a lot of clients who receive threats and they try to downplay their threats. There's a difference between someone who may post something on social media that doesn't like you, that says, hey, I don't like your show, you suck, or whatever. That's one thing. But then there's another type of threat where it's someone's giving you specifics. Hey, I know where you live. I'm going to kidnap your kids, and making very direct threats. And I think a lot of times, because of where we live, some people may say, oh, it's Beverly Hills, it's Bel Air. This doesn't happen. And people try to rationalize that it won't happen. And unfortunately, it is happening.
Yeah.
And so I think that you can't really downplay if you're being threatened, whether you're a public figure or not. We deal with a lot of regular people that are threatened as well.
Yeah.
And so you have to take those threats serious. And you can no longer, being in a different world, just downplay what's going on around you.
Okay, so let's go into a case of stalking then. So let's go not online quite yet, but stalking. So you have somebody that's stalking you. They're letting you know that they're following you. So they are writing posts on social media to let people know that they're following you. Maybe sending text messages, phone calls, and letting you know that they know where you are at all times. How do you handle a situation like that? So say if a woman came to you and asked for you to protect her, what would you suggest and how would you provide a service for that?
Good question. The first thing we would do is ask if they made a police report, because stalking is a misdemeanor and it can be a felony depending on what they're doing. So, a lot of times clients don't want to make police reports. They're embarrassed on what's going on. It could be a past relationship. It could be just a fan that they met online, if they're a public figure, or just some nutcase that decided to target them because they saw them in the supermarket. Now all of a sudden they've seen them, for the past week. Now they want to make contact with them.
Yeah.
You should avoid contact. First of all, you should not respond to their calls, not respond to their emails at all.
Okay.
Because then once you create dialogue with them, they probably will not stop. It's going to encourage them. But the first thing you have to do is make a police report.
Okay.
Because you have to put that documented that you are being harassed at the least.
Yeah.
And then what we do from our point of view, once we are hired, what we do is we'll deflect that person away from our client. And we have many tricks that we use, but we will take that bad person basically away from our client. Not physically, but there's a lot of things that we can do, and we'll do a pretty lengthy investigation on who that person is.
Okay.
In the past, we found out that people who are stalking, they may have warrants for their arrest already. They may be prior convicted felon. They may have a criminal record already, which is actually going to help getting them arrested for what they're doing already.
Yeah, because it's a really scary thing, and I hear it a lot because people say, "Oh, well, he won't hurt me," or he's not that crazy, or I mean, you hear it all, and I coach clients as well, in success coaching in life, and I hear these things all the time, and I've been through situations myself, and to have to look and watch your back and be scared every single day is just something like you shouldn't have to live in fear like that. So providing a service for that is incredible because I know where there's been times where I've walked out and just gone, I don't even want to leave the house because I don't know where he'll be or if he's going to be there or if he's going to be in the back seat of my car or it's terrifying.
It is. So. And that's part of what the stalker wants. They want the power. They want you to be powerless, and they want to control the power.
Yeah.
And, we do a great job in our team. We have a great men and women that work for us that, we have one of the few jobs where we can, you always hear, don't take your job, personal. Don't take things personally. Our staff, we take things personal. If you threaten our clients, we take this as the same as you threaten us.
Yeah.
So our team of dedicated men and women, we're going to ensure that we're going to take reasonable steps to make sure our clients are safe and they never get harmed. And, if somebody's stalking our client, whether it be physically or over the internet, best believe we're going to do our best to make sure it stops. And we're very, very effective on doing that.
Yeah. And Jennifer, let's go to you. Let's talk about, I know there's a lot of different cases when we're in the self-defense classes where, what are the top 3 things where women are being violated or hurt? Is it coming like car, like do you know what the top 3 are? Or is it domestic? Is it, what are the things that we need to look for?
Well, I just wanted to say real quick, if you can't afford a 5-star diamond security company like Mr. Perez, learn some self-defense classes and come to our class. But statistically, domestic abuse, you're more likely statistically to be attacked by someone you know or someone that you love. I don't know what the top 3 would be. I mean, and again, there's 30% of attacks happen in parking lots.
Yeah.
So I don't have numbers for what the statistics are for how many are random, how many are close, but regardless, and getting back to the awareness, if it's not someone that you know and love, you're not in a bad domestic abuse relationship or you don't have a violent home that you're coming from, your odds of never getting attacked are pretty high. But the awareness plays in so many other areas. Cars going off the street, things flying that you weren't paying attention to. I mean, we can get hurt in so many other ways, not necessarily from a violent attack. And don't put yourself in those situations. You know, if you're in a domestic abuse situation or a violent relationship, you've got to get out, because your life and your well-being is more important than anything. That should be your number one priority. That and that of your families and your children.
Absolutely.
I think women come in from all over, from different backgrounds with different experiences. Some were one-time drunken things at a bar. Some are bad relationships. Some are just an arbitrary attack. And some have never been attacked. But everything they learn is going to be helpful moving forward. I just hate when people say, well, I've never been attacked before, or this has never happened before, as if that were some sort of insurance that's never going to happen in the future. You know, because we just don't know. And the world is getting increasingly unstable. So...
And violent
be
crime,
prepared.
violent crime up just in LA alone. Violent crime is up 40%. So that's, you can't ignore that.
Wow.
40%.
Yes, that's incredible. I mean, I don't know. I've only been in LA for just about 3.5 years now, but I know there's a lot of gangs, and we talked about that the other day too. You know, and we just don't. We don't know what we don't know. So if we're not aware of this and the gang violence that's around, I mean, that's the other thing too. We talked about a lot about this as well. Speaking up. So if you're like people coming at you, like protecting yourself, because I mean, we can only learn so much, especially when it comes to self-defense or protecting ourselves, especially as women. So we have to be careful how much we say. So is it better to just, you know, if someone's coming towards you or trying to attack you, or like, is it better to run? Because people freak out when it comes into this scenario. So, I mean, like, how do we prepare for stuff like this? If, say, we don't have the self-defense tactics and we don't know how to do this, because fear sets in, and I mean, people freeze. I mean, you see it all the time. I mean, I even in the class was like, I don't know what to do. And I mean, I'm a pretty strong woman, but I literally did not know what to do. And I wasn't even in the fight or flight situation. So imagine what we feel when we are being attacked. People shut down. Let's talk about that shutting down mechanism.
Do you want to?
Sure, I go. You know, at first, because we teach active shooter training, and part of the active shooter training, we teach run, hide, fight. And exactly what you're saying, if you don't have a pre-plan on, you know, what you're going to do in some type of emergent situation, your mind will first go into denial. Is this happening to me? This is not happening to me. And it's going to take several seconds for your brain to process what's going on.
Yeah.
And so you really have to limit the time that your brain is processing that emergency situation, and the sooner the better. Because if you're sitting there trying to process it, oh my God, I'm being attacked, I'm not really sure what to do, this person's on me, they're hitting me, they're shooting me, you know, you have to immediately go into, you have to somewhat train for it and somewhat have a forethought of, hey, what would I do in this scenario?
Okay.
You know, what would I do in this scenario
really
prior
happening.
to this being attacked? If I was to be, just if you're sitting here, if I was to be attacked, what would I do? You know, if you can get away and run away from the situation, that's fine. That's always the best option.
Yeah.
However, you know, if you cannot, then you're going to have to somehow defend yourself. And, you know, taking self-defense classes, staying in shape is great, because you want to be the winner of the outcome. You're not there to go 5 rounds, like you said. You're there to injure the person and get out of there. Get out of there as quickly as you can. We always recommend as well for women to carry pepper spray. Pepper spray is a very effective tool. It may not work in every scenario, but it'll probably work in about 90% of the scenarios if you know how to use it. And we always recommend buying the commercial grade.
Okay.
The little keychain ones, those aren't going to work. They don't really squirt. They'll probably just squirt out a little bit, and it's not going to get somebody in their eyes. But actually buying one they actually sell for security staff to wear, which civilians can actually carry as well legally.
Okay.
And that's a great effective tool. And if someone's coming near, you can always pull it out of your purse and say, hey, get away, get back. I have pepper spray. Get away from me. And if they take another step, you spray them. And you spray them and you run away.
Okay.
And the FBI statistics show if you're a woman and if you're walking to your car, if you have another person with you, your attack rate goes down like by 80%. So just by having a companion, whoever that person is, If you're working late at night in your office and there's nobody else here, maybe the cameraman, maybe, just somebody working that's late. Hey, do you mind just walking in my car? It's kind of dark outside. If you're at the supermarket, ask one of the bag person, hey, do you need help outside? Yes, I do. Can you please walk in my car with my groceries?
Yeah.
So just by you walking with somebody else, your chances of being attacked go down 80%, and that's tremendous.
Absolutely. And, I can't stop thinking about the young women coming up and going into college and universities. Date rape. I mean, all this stuff's happening. I hear it around me all the time. So I don't have a daughter myself, but I know that if I had a daughter, I would make sure that I prepared as much as I could so she could be prepared for this. So there's so many things that are happening. These young women are getting raped. They're getting drugged. They're getting, they're drinking. They're doing drugs or slipping things in their drinks and stuff. How can we as parents and protectors and people that, are advising these young women, how can we help protect, but also educate the families, educate the parents so that we can keep our kids safe?
Yeah.
Because I know, and this is such a, big thing.
That's what every parent wants to know.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, and I think, it's you have to really, it's a very fast-paced world now. It's very fast-paced because young children now can go on YouTube. They can Google anything. They're almost grown up too fast because of the internet.
Yeah.
They all have access to tablets, and they can experience things that we as adults didn't experience things until we were actually a little bit older. But now kids are seeing these things and viewing these things.
Yeah.
And then they're trying them at home, or they're trying them at sleepovers.
Yeah.
So I think that, you really have to educate your kids at an early age and say, hey, these are the pitfalls of life, and obviously drugs and alcohol will play in a huge factor to that if they're in their college years or their preteens.
Yeah.
To stay off that, and hopefully there's a good home foundation that they have a great structure at home.
Yeah.
But if you're not teaching your children the right from the wrong, somebody else is, and it could be social media, it could be that tablet.
Absolutely. And let's dive into that. So, let's talk about the Craigslist, the Facebooks, the Instagram direct messaging, things like that. There's predators lurking on the other side of that because we don't know who's on the other side of the keyboard. We don't know who's on the other side of this, communicating with us. I've been catfished before. I'm not going to lie. It's happened to me. I've also been lured into a relationship via Facebook. I consider myself a very intelligent woman. If I can be lured in by social media because it's the appearance of what people say, and the only reason I share this story is so that I can explain to people that it's happening all over. It's happening with adults. It's happening with young children. So our kids aren't supervised all the time. So you hear of all these things happening on Craigslist. So like the protection of it. Don't go meet people at their homes. Make sure you meet in a public place. Things like that. If they're selling things on the internet, Facebook, the dates. There's FBI investigations on the Tinder. I don't know if you've heard of those. There's been a lot of things like that. So how do we protect everybody from things like this as well? I mean, younger women, mature women as well. Yeah,
I mean, we do a lot of talks again, and what we stress is, when you have a Facebook, Instagram, it's cool to have 1,400 friends and 1,000, 2,000, 10,000 followers, and people are constantly posting odd things. You don't know, you probably know 1% of those people.
Yeah.
Right. The 1,200 friends you have on Facebook really aren't 1,200 of your friends. You probably know maybe 100 people, maybe less.
Yeah.
And so you're posting provocative photos. You're posting where you're at on vacation, where your home's empty.
Yeah.
You're posting all these things that are to strangers. Would you stand in front of your window and as cars drive by, make these provocative pictures and gestures? You probably wouldn't. So there are some bad people that are on the other end. And so we have to be aware of that. And, it's you got to really think about before you post.
Yeah.
Children just don't have that sort of long-term consequence built in yet, depending on their age.
Exactly.
So, depending, Traci, of course, of what age group you're talking about. You really need to just limit their exposure or their contact with those social media venues up until a certain age. And then there's the denial. Like you said, you were catfished. I mean, everyone's in denial that it's not going to happen to me. But then it does happen, and then you get caught off guard. And that's what a lot of these predators and these attackers do. They want to catch you off guard.
Yeah.
And that gives them the upper hand. and the control.
Of course.
I just wanted to get back to your other question of how we can protect women and what should they do if they're attacked or confronted with an attack. And because no two attacks are alike and they're all different, it's hard to give them just one thing other than awareness. But getting back to the voice, because you touched on it, and I just want to make sure that we expand on the voice. Because, one, I love this talk show, The Power of the Voice, because we don't realize that our voice does have power, but we tend to shut down under those extreme stress, like David mentioned, and we freeze. And we're in that one denial and that shock of, oh, is this really happening to me? What do I do? And while you're going through that thought process, an attack is still in motion.
Yes.
And you need to, that's why the awareness steps in, because if you are aware, you save yourself the time to react quicker. But once it's on, you have to react. So whether you don't do or don't know martial arts, or you have some self-defense skills, you need to do something. So any woman listening right now, whether you've taken a martial arts class or a self-defense class yet or not, don't feel like you have to have a self-defense class to defend yourself.
No.
Do something. But that voice is so important, because that gives you your power to fight back. And they always say will trumps skill. So you can be a great martial artist, but if you freeze, you're still going to get taken down. But you can have no skills and fight, like we have my partnership with Spice Williams Crosby, that I fight for my life. If you fight for your life and you don't give up, your odds of surviving and getting through that attack are going to greatly jump through. So how do we protect ourselves? To answer your question, ladies, just fight. Learn some skills so you know where to strike that's going to cause the most damage. Pounding them on the chest isn't going to be as effective as gouging their eyes or their throat, but do something to get out alive. When it comes to children, they are unfortunately the most vulnerable and the most at risk, because they're smaller and they're more defenseless. So parents just really need to step in when it comes to, I want to give my kid their liberty, or I want to give them their independence, and I don't want them to feel like I'm spying on them because I want to trust them. Parents need to really become parents rather than their kid's friend or their buddy, and they need to monitor, and they need to restrict, and they even need to not just limit, but cut off some of their media exposure if they feel that their kids are getting out of control. We need to be in touch with what our children are doing. But at a certain age, you can tell them right from wrong, but, they just have that denial it's going to happen to them. So teach them when they're young. Teach your little girls and your little boys, put them in a karate class, get them in sports, get them active. Let them learn how to express themselves so that they don't feel so helpless.
Yeah.
It's taking your power back.
Absolutely.
Not being a victim.
Yeah, and I really like that you said, boys as well, because this doesn't, this goes, for everybody. People are, men getting beat up, and, I had a scenario when I was in high school, and a girl thought that her boyfriend liked me, and I was the cool kid in the high school at the time, and I had all the girlfriends, all the like the football player, this, that, and the other, and it was like one day they completely turned on me, and because they thought that I was with this guy and I wasn't, and they took me out to the baseball diamond, and 7 of them beat the crap out of me.
God.
And like my orbital bone, my face was smashed in basically, and they kicked and broke ribs. They punctured my lung, and I was in really rough shape. And I ended up getting mono after that because my immune system was down from stress. And I basically almost lost my life when I was in high school, and it changed the course of my life. Ooh. And, I still have nightmares about it. And I think, you can be the coolest person on the planet, but you can never prepare for something like that. And I, again, being strong, an athlete my whole life and conditioned, I work out, I was totally unprepared for that. And, so we need to protect ourselves, all around, and just and let our kids know so that we can help each other and really support one another. What I love that you taught in the class as well is that voice. So having like the yelling, the screaming. What did we talk about the other day? One of the girls was she actually saved a girl's life down the street because she heard her yelling 3 blocks down. Mm-hmm. Right. So, I
Yeah.
mean, being able to scream when we're in class, it's funny because I'm not a timid woman at all. But Jennifer, I love it. She's like, ugh! And it's just, it gets in there, gets in your face. And it's just, I mean, you wouldn't expect that coming from, a woman. So I think that's also a great tactic as well when we're protecting ourselves, especially, if something was to ever happen.
It is, because you got to get out of the thinking and into the action.
Yes.
And something needs to motivate you, your will. But when you use your voice, it's like a supernatural thing happens because there is a power in that. And I didn't know that naturally. I had to learn it. I had to learn how to express my voice and my chi and my power through my voice, and it has an effect. And some people are more natural at it than others, and some people need to work on it. But it can be done, and once you find it, it's very empowering.
Well, she's so soft-spoken, and it's funny because we like to have a lively show, and we like to have fun while we're here too. And this is a pretty serious subject, so what we decided is we brought a test. I don't want to call him a dummy because that's just wrong, but we brought a test subject, and he's in the corner, and Jennifer's actually going to just show us a little bit of self-defense, and Brian, come on out behind door number 3. All right, guys, so this is just a little bit. Jennifer, you can take whatever you would like to do. We just want to show a little bit of kind of what we learn. And this isn't, this is fighting for our lives. So when we're in a situation where we actually need to fight for our life to stay alive and come home, these are the types of things that we're learning. So Brian's going to get the crap kicked out of him, in other words.
Well, no, I'm sure you want to keep your eyes, throat, and testicles.
I want to make sure that we have a little bit of that camera there. And Jennifer, just a little bit of a clip just to show, what we're doing.
Okay.
What we're doing.
A good attack.
She looks like
and I don't know how many women are attacked and killed every year from being choked or strangled to death. But if it's just one, it's one too many. And it just kills me inside when you know that they could have done something. And I'm sure they tried to fight off their attacker, but when you're being choked, the danger of a choke is so, time-wise, is so critical because it's not a Hollywood choke where you're being strangled over a few minutes. They're actually breaking your windpipe. Hi.
How do you like me so far? I love it.
Right here. So just to review for what we did in the class, you want me to just explode?
Yeah, I want you to give it your all. Yeah, this is fighting for your life.
It's going to end quick. So basically, you want it to end quick. You don't want to do 5 rounds other than for cardio and for stamina and endurance, for a fight, and it's a great workout. On the street, you want to get out of it quickly, especially when it comes to a choke, because you really have literally 3 seconds to fight a choke. So you're going to choke me. Now, obviously, early defense is better, meaning if I saw someone coming to choke me, from here, I'm not going to just go, oh, wait, I know this. I'm going to stop the attack before it happens. My hands are up to protect myself. He comes to choke me. Come in. And I kick him back, right? Ouch! I need to get my
Are you wearing your cup, Brian?
Right? So...
No, I'm not.
no cup. But I'm kicking the groin here. I want to get my space so that I can run. Oh, back in the camera. But say I was not aware, I was on my cell phone, or I was half asleep, or I was in that denial stage where I'm thinking, God, what is he doing? Is he really choking me? And he goes to choke. So there are many choke defenses. This is just one. Not every technique works on everybody all the time. But women, if you're watching, and men too, we want to go for the vital areas that are going to cause the most damage. Now, I don't care if he's a 300-pound gorilla and you're 5'1". If you can reach those eyes, he can work every muscle on his body. He is not working those eyes out when they get gouged, and they're going to have a physiological reaction of tearing up. And where's his focus going to be after I gouge him? His hands are going to go to his eyes, not so much on the choke, right? Okay. So I like to eye gouge and break the choke. There's also kicking. You're so great, right? There's also, if you have an opening for the groin, kicking the groin. Okay? This is where men are most vulnerable. They can be big and strong, but they've got this little thing here to keep them humble.
Little
So,
thing.
Tracy wants to do a real dynamic thing. I am going to break.
She knows.
And the strange thing is, I know these things.
So you're going to come up, and I'm going to show you how to choke me. Because, women got to show the men how you like it.
All right.
You're going to
All
come,
right.
and you're going to choke. And you're going to push me back. Right?
Okay.
So go for it.
Choke her and push her back.
I know what she's going to do.
She won't hurt you.
I won't eye
She
gouge
won't.
you. I'm going to break the choke.
Okay,
Come on,
all
Brian,
right.
go up there and do it.
Do
Is that
it.
it?
Is that it?
A little harder. Okay.
Joker.
Push me back. Like this. Wah! See, you're nice and relaxed. We're talking. No, I don't want to have a drink with you. Listen, I have a boyfriend. Why don't you leave me alone, okay? Seriously, I'm not interested in you, dude. Come on. No, I'm sorry. No, you're really nice.
Wow, he's so gentle.
If everyone was choked like this,
Yeah,
so
then
just
we'd
for
all survive.
purposes, since Brian wants to keep his testicles, breaking that choke is important. So he's got the choke on.
Mm-hmm.
You're not really choke women every day. I can see you're a little out of practice. You have to break that choke.
Yeah.
But look at the difference between. Oh, don't choke me. Oh. And. I didn't know. I had to
Gosh,
do
little
Yeah,
failure.
sorry.
Yeah.
We don't want a Janet Jackson moment here.
And wah! Wah! The difference is the voice. The difference is the power. The difference is the intent.
Mm-hmm.
So, ladies, whatever you do, make sure that you have that because that's going to make a huge difference in how you react. And
Thank you. Amazing. I wanted to see you beat the crap out of Brian, but that's
yeah,
okay.
Brian. Brian, I think wants to keep his
He's
his
like,
jewels today.
yes. Amazing. Thank you, Jennifer. David, I'd like to talk a little bit more about Omega International and the services that you offer. So, how do we find you, and like can we get to find out a little bit more about the company?
Well, we have a website, Omega International Group, Inc. You can Google us. I'm on LinkedIn as well.
Okay.
We're also part of the Beverly Hills Chamber of Commerce. So
Mm-hmm.
Beverly Hills Chamber of Commerce, great commerce. And, we're in Beverly Hills a lot, around town, and we're very accessible. My business partner and I, that's one thing that's been a huge differentiator for us is we're very accessible.
Mm-hmm.
With most companies, you probably can never talk to the CEO, don't even know who the CEO is.
Mm-hmm.
With my business partner and I, we're very accessible to talk to every one of our clients.
Okay.
And go to our website. We have an 888 number as well. It's 24 hours, 888-337-0648.
Okay.
That's a 24-hour answering service, and we get calls from 9 o'clock at night to 3 in the morning. And I guarantee you someone's going to call you back. We always call back.
Mm-hmm.
And, our business is 24/7. We never close. Emergencies don't happen 9 to 5.
Mm-hmm.
We've gotten calls at midnight for emergency requests. We've gotten calls at 3 in the morning for emergency requests.
Yeah.
So, protection is a 24-hour business. So that's just what we do.
I know you're a phenomenal company, and I love the service that you provide, and helping so many people and protecting so many people. And the other thing I wanted to talk about too is we talked a little bit about it before the show started, and about being too nice and being in the public eye. So, say for example, somebody who's in my business or into entertainment and a celebrity, maybe they're a singer or an actress. How do you know the difference between handling your fans and handling, the crazies, let's say? Because there is a big difference. And how do we know how to determine who's who?
Well, that's a great question, and it's a tough balance, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why a lot of these people that are in front of the camera, behind the camera, do hire a protective team, because you may not be trained, and your business is to be in the entertainment industry. That's what you're focused on. That's what you're best at. And we want you to focus on that and be successful at that, career. And what we do is we come in and we look for those threats, because it often is very hard to distinguish who's the good people, who's the bad people.
Yeah.
And it's a balancing act where you want to be in the limelight, you want to have followers, you want to be, on Facebook Live, you want to do all these things to have the exposure, but at the same time is with the fame comes, some pitfalls. And there is unfortunately some bad people in the world that will target you. And so that's when you really have to focus, is if you're really going to think about your protection, is you're going to have to hire a protection team.
Yeah.
I was at an event a couple days ago. We met a very up-and-coming star who's at about 10 million followers. She's getting ready to launch a CD. And we were talking to her record company. We were talking to the publicist as well, that her whole life is going to change, and it is changing. And she needs now to change her posture when she goes out. Look what happened to Christina Grimmie.
Yeah.
I mean, unfortunately, she was shot and killed during a signing. So you have to, it's tough for an actual client or actual actress or somebody who's in the limelight to really focus on who's the good people and who's the bad people, because oftentimes it's really hard for you to see.
Yeah.
That's why they call us for a consultation. They call us to hire our services. So you just have to be aware. I mean, it's going to might be tough for you to really see who's who.
Yeah. Absolutely. So just a scenario that happened yesterday. And so how do you know how to handle these? Because for me, I am the 10,000 Facebook friends. And, I don't know half of them. I don't know where they're coming from different countries. So yesterday, actually 2 days ago, I got a text message saying, hi, is this Traci? Or hi, Traci. And I said, who is this, please? And then after that, it was 7 hours later, I got the name of the person. And so I said, how did you get my number? Didn't respond. I know you through social media. How did you get my number, and who do I know? He said, a mutual friend knows you. Who's the mutual friend? How'd you get my number? Never answered either of the question. So I left it. And then, I met you at an event. And I left it, never said anything, went and did my work. And I got a phone call last night saying, hey, it's so-and-so. And I met you through a friend, an event, you gave me your number. And I said, I gave you my number. I said, well, I don't give out my number. So are we doing business together? No. I get through Instagram. You giving me through Instagram. Well, I never give up my number through Instagram. So how do I know you? And it just kind of went from there. And then the questions were, do you live in LA? Where are you in LA? And at that point, the conversation ended. And, it's terrifying, because I don't know if that I don't know who they are. I don't know if they're calling for someone. I don't know if they're behind me. I don't know if they're following me. And I just, and he also had mentioned that he likes my Facebook Lives, and that, he saw me in wherever I was lately. And, that's scary, because I want to put myself out there and share these workouts and these things that I'm doing in the entertainment business on the red carpets. But where do you draw the line to protect yourself?
Well, tell him, whoever you are, Traci's learning self-defense now, so don't even try anything. Okay?
Yeah, and you think, I'm learning from her, so yeah. I mean, and then having the protective services, like Omega International, having like someone like that behind me to make sure that I'm safe at all times, because I don't want to be the nice girl that gets caught and get caught off guard.
Exactly, and it's unfortunate nowadays with the power of the internet. For $20, I can find out where you live. I can find out your phone number. I can find out anything about you, and that's kind of the downfall of the internet. That in the past you were kind of anonymous. You didn't want to take somebody's call. It was kind of done, but now we're seeing more and more that these threats are. When we have a protection detail, I would say a third of the time, the bad person actually shows up, and that's 5-10 years ago that never happened. Yeah. And now, the past cases we've had last summer through this summer, a third of the time the bad person has shown up.
Wow.
And it's pretty scary to think that if we weren't there, what would be the end result? We don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so I'm going to ask a question, because it's one of those questions that not a lot of people want to talk about, but what about guns? So protecting yourself with a gun. Jennifer, I know we talked about, because we're going to go to the shooting range. I've done it before a few times, but obviously I'm not going to say if I own a gun or not. But what about guns, like to protect ourselves and have a gun?
Gun it's a tool like anything else. If you're going to own a gun, I would say just be responsible and do get as much training as you can. A gun is the same thing as owning a car. A car, you can get in it, and if you're not trained properly, you don't know how to drive, you can drive out the street, pull out the parking lot, you're going to run people over, cause a major accident. You can kill somebody very quickly. A gun is no different. I'm a firearm owner for over 25 years, and you just have to get a lot of training, and you have to be comfortable with that gun. And, a gun is a last resort. I'm not going to say it's something you want to pull out first because, California has a very strict gun policy. And unfortunately, you're going to have to show that you did everything you could prior to using that firearm. Firearm is always a last resort. Yeah. And you don't want to get yourself in legal trouble. However, if you need it to protect yourself and you feel that threatened and you're properly trained, you're properly licensed to carry it, well, that's your prerogative.
I agree with everything David said. Because the percentage of gun owners that have their firearm turned and used against them is astronomically high. I think it's up in the 80% range. Because they didn't train. And if you pull out your firearm, you have to pull it out with the intent that you may be using it. And a lot of assailants know that you may not. And then it's turned against you. So as a last resort, but you also don't always have your firearm with you at all times. You're not showering with it. You're not making dinner with it. You're certainly not going to Walmart with it, at least not in California with our gun laws.
I was going to say I take mine to Walmart
the only
as a
weapon,
joke, but I don't want to get in trouble, so I'm just kidding.
Well, there are people concealing that you just don't know, not legally in California without their permit, which is hard to get here, but because of our gun laws. And you do need to know the gun laws in your state from state to state because they do vary. But the only weapons you have on you at all times are your own. But you do need to train with it because if you're not comfortable with it and you don't know how to use it, it's going to do more harm than good for you. But it is a tool. It is a helpful tool. And everybody should learn. I think when you do learn how to use a firearm and you get more comfortable, the less fearful you are, the more it changes your perspective, your ideas, and maybe even your politics on gun ownership. It's I think the people that are not educated on guns that are the biggest advocates against it. And then once they get educated, they realize, oh, okay, it's not a bad thing in the hands of good people, and it's a great equalizer if you need to, and that's pretty much it. So they're a great tool, but you need to know how to use it.
It's great for home defense. I think it's really good for your home. But carrying it day to day, there's just so much that goes into the training that you probably realistically may not even have time to go through that much training to really properly use it. And just like Jennifer was saying, one of the things is gun retention. If someone decides to take it from you, have you trained on that? That's a whole different type of training. So if you're not trained on that, I can easily take it away from you. The bad guy can easily take it away from you and use it against you. So I think it is a great tool. It's really great for home defense because if someone comes in your home late at night, you know what? A jury's probably going to use in your favor that they came in your sanctuary.
And they just need to hear that.
I'd be right. You're right. Hi, honey, I'm home.
But like Jennifer was saying, and we've been talking about the theme of being aware, maybe taking some self-defense training, just some basic self-defense stuff. Nothing that you have to memorize these really crazy moves. Pepper spray is always great. Yeah. You never heard of anybody using excessive force on pepper spray, even though it is a felony if you misuse it. But you rarely hear of anybody misusing pepper spray.
Okay.
So I think those are probably the best tools that we could have because you may not, even if you carry a gun, you may not have time to pull it out. Yeah. Where do you carry it? It's in your purse. It's on the bottom of your purse. All the junk. Yeah. Your hairspray's in there. Your curling iron, and you can't even get to it in the need when it's time. So I think having the awareness, having some training with just some basic self-defense, carrying some pepper spray, be confident when you go out there, and I think that's the best tool that you can have in self-defense.
Okay, great. And how do you know that it's gotten to the point where we need to hire you on? And obviously we're going to go do these self-defense classes, right, everyone? They're going to do this first. But how do we know that we got to the point? Is it before it's too late? So you've been having threats made against you, or you're getting phone calls like I did. How do you know when it's time to bring on Omega International?
Well, you shouldn't wait till it's too late, where it's getting kind of where it's really getting increased threats. If you feel uncomfortable at the phone calls, if you feel uncomfortable with the type of language that's been used, whether it be tweets or Instagram, you can always reach out to us. Anybody can reach out to us and say, hey, we'll give you a 30-minute free consultation to figure out if you do have, maybe it's either harassment or maybe it's just nothing, or maybe you actually do have a serious threat.
Okay.
And we do that all the time. Clients call us all the time, say, hey, I have this. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
And we'll take a look at it. At times, we do recommend security, and at times, it may not. You may not need security. You may just have to change a few things of your life, small, simple things. But I wouldn't wait till it becomes,
Okay.
so stressful where now you're up at night and you're paranoid about what's going on, because then it's probably at a breaking point.
Online bullying and cyber stalking. So what is considered actual, where it's to the point where it's a problem? Cyber stalking. So defamation of character, people putting things about you on social media. Where is it the point where it's too much? Because, you can go to the police, you can have someone, help you with that. You can get advice from your friends or your family. But when is it so much where you have to take that next step to get, provide a service to help you through that?
Well, every scenario is different. And I think, again, you can't wait till it gets out of control. There are laws that are in place here in California. You can get restraining orders on people, even though some people say, well, it's a waste of time. It's not really a waste of time. There's, a lot of cases where people violate those restraining orders. There's defamation of character laws. When you start putting judgments on people, when you start getting people arrested, when you start getting people investigated, you want to turn it to where the bad guy is going to now stop, because they're going to get in a lot of legal trouble.
Yeah.
And again, you can't wait till it gets completely out of control.
David, so on that, just from experience and other scenarios with friends and people that I've seen go through domestic violent cases, things like that, and they've actually, their lives have been taken. So the thing is like with the restraining orders and stuff like that, because a lot of people get fear. And I know I've been in that situation where it's like, well, if I put a restraining order on him, it's going to make him mad. So I don't want to make him mad, because what's he going to do when he gets mad? So I hear that a lot from women. And you've heard the case scenarios. I mean, look at Nicole Simpson Brown. I mean, for example, Tanya Brown Simpson's a very good friend of mine, and we've talked about that over and over and over. And I mean, she's written about it. She wrote about it. I mean, she was scared. She was terrified. And you always kind of read these things. So how do we protect ourselves from that? Because if you get a restraining order and there's no police report, or there is a police report and a restraining order, but still, your life can be at jeopardy.
Yeah, it's tough, and there's no, I don't know if there's any easy solution for that.
Yeah.
Because I've heard cases, just as you said, where someone didn't want to have a restraining order, then something happened. Someone put a restraining order, then something happened. Yeah. So it's a tough balancing act, but we have to really be aware of. We have to somehow not get ourselves in those situations to get to that point. Yeah. When you get in relationships, you can Google people. You meet people, you say, hey, this might be a great guy. I just met him. You didn't meet him online. But you'd be very, we do a lot of investigation on social media. So if somebody's threatening our client, we do the reverse engineering, and we use social media to investigate people, and we find a lot of information on people. We'll find out where you work, what you're doing, what your habits are, who you're hanging out with, what are people saying about you, good and bad and the ugly. So there's nothing wrong with you meeting somebody, and it could be a male or female, that let me just Google this person. Let me look at their social media. Let me look at their Facebook. Let me look at all the things, and you connect your own dots. And if things are not correct, or if there's things that are out of place, or if people are saying bad things about them, or they're posting some very odd and kind of violent and angry posts, then that's a red flag. Like, I may not want this person in my inner circle.
Do your homework, definitely. I've learned that one from experience. Definitely do your homework. Google is a wonderful tool. And, it's been my girlfriend's, I'm like, why didn't you Google them? Like, why didn't you just take a minute just to Google the name? And we've all been there. But, so that's definitely a key thing. So the other awareness points I want to touch on before we end the show today is being aware, having take your hand off the cell phone for a minute, put your cell phone away, have your keys in your hand, be prepared, having awareness, look at your surroundings. Any other things that we touched on that you guys want to mention?
I say keep your distance when speaking to strangers. Don't let anybody get within striking distance, is what I like to say.
Okay.
So you get a lot of homeless. That's a huge topic also, off of our topic, but it is a huge topic. And they're coming asking for money. You have to hand them the money, of course. But be aware when you come in close proximity to anybody that you don't know or that you're not comfortable with, that they're not close enough to grab you. And have your hands up. We like to do our thinking pose, or we just like to talk to them like you're in security. You probably, talk to people or address them with your hands up so that you're more ready to defend yourself if you need to be. And then and just to talk about the restraining order, it's a piece of paper. So if a guy's going to violate a restraining order, he's going to violate a restraining order. That's there for legalities, just so that you have more power against them if they do transgress against that restraining order. But just because you have a restraining order, it is not a magic piece of paper that says now they're not going to come near you. You know, so let's just be straight on what that actually is.
Yeah.
But
And I think also is a lot of times we put ourselves in these positions. Follow your intuition. And if you're putting yourself in a bad place, you have to get away from that bad place. A lot of times, if you're somewhere, if you're at an event, you're at a party, you're at a bar, you can tell and sense when the vibe is changing. When the vibe is changing when it's getting negative and there's things that it doesn't seem that's kind of off, it's getting too rowdy. So maybe some seedy people show up. It's time for you to leave. And when your intuition is saying, "Hey, you know what, I should leave," you should leave.
yeah, that's a great point.
Trust your instinct.
Don't
Absolutely. How many times, I can't even count on my hands how many times I've been like, oh, I knew I should have left.
That's
I
a
knew I
great
should have.
point.
That's a really good point. Yeah, so that's number one too, I think. Follow your instincts and your intuition. Absolutely. Again, David Perez, thank you so much for coming on the show. Again, where can we find you so we can hire these guys, Omega International Group of Elite Service here for security?
OmegaINT.us or Google Omega International Group Inc. and we'd be happy to service you.
Excellent. And Jennifer Klig Steinberg.
Silverstein.
Sorry.
I know all the Jewish names sound alike. Well, I'm at the House of Champions every Saturday at 11:30 for our women's self-defense class. The first class is free. That's with the I Fight for My Life. If you need to contact me for personal self-defense lessons, I'm at 818-324-0944.
Amazing. Okay, also, we've got this, so you guys can find David Perez on the internet and also all the information there. Jennifer, she's there every Saturday, House of Champions. I want to give a shout out to SWAT Fuel. You guys are going to love this product, so I'm going to hand you these samples. Check it out, www.swatfuel.com. Amazing for focus and energy and workouts. Give you a lot of high-powered intensity for your workouts to keep you going. So thank you so much for all the information. You guys, yes. Yes, and thank you so much for coming on, David Perez and Jennifer. It's going to be great to see you. We're going to miss you this weekend at the House of Champions. And for all your services here, make sure you guys contact David. And until next time, we're here every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time till 5 p.m. on the TLC Unleashed show, Hollywood Vibes, Sports and Life. We will see you next week. Make sure you guys are staying healthy, happy, and fit. And we'll see you next time. And stay safe. Bye.